You remember a few weeks ago, one tragic Friday, Tzahal, the IDF in Gaza, by mistake killed 3 people running out of a house who they assumed were Hamas terrorists, but turned out to be Jews, hostages, and a major investigation developed because it was literally Jewish soldiers who killed these 3 poor boys, and 2 of them were killed first, and then a 3rd one later. The 3rd one who was killed, his name was Yotam Haim, and he and his friends were in captivity all this time, and Hamas ultimately left them, and they came out of this building, and the soldiers, of course, who at that point didn't know who's who, so even though they came out with a white flag, and apparently they screamed Hatzilu, save, but there was complete chaos and fear, and they were overwhelmed, and they shot these guys. It was, within all the tragedies, this was a really horrific tragedy because, they survived, and they were killed by friendly fire. One of the mothers, Yotam Haim's mother, her name is Irit Haim, and she wrote a letter to them. She wrote a letter to the soldiers who did this. As I was reading the letter, it was really unbelievable.
שלום לחטיבה 7828 ביסלח, גדוד 17, מדברת איריס חיים. אני אמא של יותם. אני רציתי להגיד לכם שאני מאוד אוהבת אתכם, ושאני מחבקת אתכם פה מרחוק, ואני יודעת שכל מה שקרה זה בכלל לא באשמתכם, ובאשמת אף אחד חוץ מהחמאס, יימח שמם וזכרם על פני האדמה. אני מבקשת לשמור על עצמכם, ולחשוב כל הזמן שאתם עושים את הדבר הכי טוב בעולם שיכול לקרות, שיכול לעזור לנו וכעם ישראל, וכולנו זקוקים לכם בריאים, ואל תהססו לרגע אחד. אם אתם רואים מחבל, אל תחשבו שאתם הרגתם חטוף בכוונה, אתם צריכים להגן על עצמכם, כי רק ככה אתם תוכלו לשמור עלינו. ובהזדמנות הראשונה אתם מוזמנים לבוא אלינו, כל מי שמעוניין, ואנחנו רוצים לראות אתכם בעיניים שלנו, ולחבק אתכם ולהגיד לכם שעשיתם כמה שזה כואב להגיד דבר כזה, ועצוב. זה היה הדבר הכי נכון כנראה באותו רגע, אף אחד מאיתנו לא שופט אתכם ולא כועס, לא אני ולא בעלי רביב, לא הבת שלי נויה ולא יותם שבזכרונו לברכה, ולא תובל אח של יותם. אוהבים אתכם מאוד מאוד.
When she wrote to these soldiers and she said, I know, my husband knows, my children know, that you were just trying to protect the Jewish people. You are in such a crazy place. There are murderers everywhere. One little mistake, and you're dead, and you're killed. And the Hamasniks use every method to deceive the soldiers. They can come out without clothes, but there's something hidden in order to shoot. Wherever they are, however they are, they'll surrender, but they don't surrender. So you, in this crazy chaos and danger of war, you did this by mistake. And she told these soldiers, she said, I forgive you. My family forgives you. I'm not bearing a grudge against you. In fact, I love you and I support you. Tishmeru al atzmechem, protect yourself. And nobody should think twice whether to shoot a terrorist or not. Because if you think twice, you're going to end up dying. And I know that how horrific the circumstances were. And therefore I forgive you. And she says, when you get out of Gaza, come visit our family. Because I would like to hug you, and my husband wants to hug you, and my kids want to hug you. And this really, it transformed, so many people's perspectives and feelings, because for good reason, there was so much pain and anger. So I saw they interviewed her. Somebody sent me a link. And she explained how she's in horrible pain for the loss. But she said, I could choose. I'm going to let myself become angry at these soldiers, these poor little kids who are trying to defend themselves, and their whole life they're going to have to think about the fact that they killed 3 Jewish hostages. And is that anger really going to heal us? Is that anger going to bring my son back? Is that anger going to heal my family and me? I'm in a lot of pain. And then she described the hardships of her son. Her son had a lot of challenges, Yotam. And she described everything she put, all types of therapies. He had physical challenges and social challenges and emotional challenges. She described what a hard life he had. But he pushed himself. And he joined the Golani, which is one of the very, very, maybe one of the best brigades, and brigades that go into the most dangerous places. So he really made it, he really challenged himself to the core in terms of athletic prowess and skill and discipline and training and development. And and ultimately he was abducted and he was killed. And she said, how much he fought for his life. But then she said he wouldn't want to go down, in a way that would in any way sacrifice the Jewish people. Like in many ways, the fact is he went down standing. He went down, he saved himself from captivity despite everything he went through. And he emerged, and only after he emerged from captivity was he killed. She said she doesn't know why, but she just feels that it was the dignity of her son was such that he fought for himself so much. And his last moment was, I did not surrender to captivity, and I tried to do whatever I can to save my life and to save my colleague's life. And then she shared something, and she said that after she wrote her letter and the letter became public, so somebody came over to her, an Israeli man, and he said to her as follows. He said that 15 years ago, he was involved in an incident in Sahal, and by mistake, he killed somebody. It's one of these friendly fire mistakes. I don't know what happened, but a Jewish life was taken as a result of his mistake. And he says that for 15 years, he didn't leave his house. 15 years, because the depression of the fact that he killed another Jew, he couldn't deal with it. After everything said and done, all of his training it ended up in killing another Jew by mistake. He did not leave his house. The only reason he left his house was to try to go to therapy, which was not helping. He had no friends, he had no family, and he said, after I read your letter, it was the first time I could leave my house, and I came to say thank you. So she asked him what? And he said, just to be able to see how you looked at it. You gave me back my dignity, because I killed that person by mistake. And you know what else happened? I died in the process. I killed him and I died. I killed myself too. For a Jew to kill another Jew, especially a soldier who's dedicating his entire life, sacrificing himself to protect the Jewish people, and with that very weapon, he's killing a Jew. What does that do to the soldier? She said the fact that you could forgive this person and say you love him and you want to hug him and they should come visit your house afterwards. He said, it made me a tchias hamesim. It meant that I wasn't this evil, horrific person. I could forgive myself, at least somewhat, at least I could show my face to the public. I can walk outside of the house. And what it represented, and when I was reading this and looking at this, it just represented this powerful, nobody, I think, could ever understand, and nobody should ever understand, but it represented this powerful dignity of a person who, in the midst of so much darkness and horror and pain, lo yaleinu v'lo yaleichem, in a way that I think is unfathomable for any mother to lose a child, especially losing a child who was in captivity by Hamas and losing a child under such circumstances. There's so many different ways to respond, and nobody can judge anybody. To be able to see this type of grace and dignity, I think it just opens us up to the power of the Jewish people. It opens us up to the power of a soul. It just opens us up to the infinity of clarity and connection and holiness and refinement and love that exists in a person's soul. Like this mother is such a powerful, shining, eternal example for people. Not to be able to, not to chas v'shalom judge anybody else in a different position, because it's just unfathomable pain. But to be able to see this type of grace, I don't even have words for it. I don't think grace even captures it. To be able to see this type of generosity, of faith, of fortitude, and of connectivity, it's just awe-inspiring. And as she said, she knows this is what her son would want. Knowing her son, she said, this is what he would want. He would want his memory, his story to become a catalyst for people really be able to connect.
לא כעסנו עליהם ולא חשבנו שזה קרה בגלל שהם עשו את זה בכוונה. זה טעות. זה טעות אנושית. עם כל הכאב והצער, זו טעות. שכל יום אני בוחרת אם לראות את הבן שלי בבור או באור. ושאני כל יום בוחרת מחדש, גם היום, כשאני פותחת את העיניים, אם אני רוצה להיות בבור או באור.